Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and for this video I'm going to be going through my top 10 favourite Hammer horror movies. So this is kind of a response video to John from Mondo Chelovic Movies. He recently did his top 10 list of favourite Hammer films, and that was really fun to watch. I'll link that down below. So I thought I'd do my own top 10 list. Being a huge fan of Hammer horror, this is probably one of the first horror staples that my dad introduced me to as a kid, because he's always been a big fan of these films, and he would tell me about times that he used to stay up as a kid and watch these movies. So yeah, I've always loved Hammer horror and their style and things like that. So this was a bit of a tricky list to put together, and I had to leave off some great movies. So anyway, I'll get into my top 10 favourite. So at number 10 we have Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, and this one I always liked what Hammer did with the story. I like the little twist on the tale with the woman, with Sister Hyde, and I really like the on-screen chemistry that they had. This one was always a fun one to see him change from Dr. Jekyll to Sister Hyde. You never quite know when she was gonna come into the movie, and I like the way it went back and forth, and how kind of dynamics changed as to whether it was the man or the woman. And in this one I really liked the Victorian setting. I thought they did a great job of showing that and using that. It really suited the film well. And I really wanted to include a film that had Ralph Bates on it. I always remember him as being great in Hammer films. He was always a really good actor, and quite an overlooked name, I think, in the world of Hammer horror. Even the Frankenstein one, without Peter, when he played Frankenstein and not Peter Cushing, I always thought he did a great job in that role, and that movie nearly made the list. But yeah, Ralph Bates always put in a good performance with these movies, and this is probably my favourite one that he did, because it's a really good role for him, and like I say, I like the change between him and the woman. I thought that was done really well. So number 10 is Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. Okay, number 9 we have Scars of Dracula, which is probably, it's not the best Dracula film in the Hammer horror series, but it's actually the first one that I ever saw. My dad got a box set years and years ago of Hammer films. I've still got the box set, and Scars of Dracula was in it, and it was one of, if not the first movie that I watched out of that box set, and that was one of the very first introductions to both Hammer horror and the Dracula series. So it was really cool to finally see a Dracula film and see Christopher Lee in action. And this does look really good. It has all the kind of the Hammer horror feels to it, the castle and the dark countryside and things like that, and has a pretty good atmosphere. The ending's pretty intense when the Count sets on fire on top of the castle. That was all pretty good, and there's some pretty cool, recognisable people that pop up in this as well. So yeah, Scars of Dracula is always one that I've been fond of, and as I say, I do have memories of watching this, and this being one of the very first Hammer films that I ever saw. So number 9, Scars of Dracula. Okay, number 8 we have The Curse of Frankenstein, which is just another great Hammer movie, one of their early ones. One that kind of kick-started the horror series for them. So this is their take on the Frankenstein story. I really like Peter Cushing as the creature, as the monster, and we have that iconic scene when we first see his face. Every time I watch that, that's still really cool. And I really like the colours in this one. It has those real kind of rich, vibrant Hammer horror colours, like the blood red and things like that. And on Blu-ray nowadays, they look really, really good. And even like the scenes in the countryside just look really kind of appealing. Hammer had a really nice style, really nice colourful flair in a lot of these early movies, and this is a good showcase of that. But this is just, for me, a really, really well put together kind of gothic British horror film. and like I say, kind of kickstarted a lot of Hammer's success. So really got to love Curse of Frankenstein. It still holds up very well, and yeah, a movie that I really enjoy. So that's that one. Okay, at number 7 we have The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, which is maybe Hammer's most fun and entertaining movie. This is a lot of fun to watch. So clearly inspired by the kind of the kung fu movies that were becoming popular at the time, and this is an interesting mix of kind of gothic Hammer horror and the contemporary kung fu style at the time. So it sees Peter Cushing. He's banded along with a bunch of these, I guess, kind of like samurai martial artist people, and they're looking to destroy this evil vampire. And along the way, there's just lots of kung fu fighting with these like zombie vampire creatures and things like that. But it's like I say, it's a very fun film to watch, very action packed, very kind of novel film for Hammer. It's very different from their kind of like British countryside gothic horrors. This one has very much a different feel to it, but it strangely works. It kind of shouldn't, but it does work very well. And one of the things I love about this is Peter Cushing's relationship with the I think the young Japanese guy. Again, someone like Peter Cushing and this guy, you wouldn't expect them to have such great on-screen chemistry, but they really do. And I love seeing them work together and seeing all these guys like kung fu fighting while Peter Cushing kind of stumbles his way through the countryside. It's a really fun film to watch, and very entertaining. So not one that you kind of hear all that much. It's not revered as much as other Hammer films, but I think it's, although it is kind of a bit on the silly side, it's a very good film, very well put together. It works when it kind of shouldn't, and it's very entertaining. So I definitely want to include that one. Okay, number 6 is The Mummy, another one of Hammer's early ones. And again, this is just I think it's a really well-made film. It looks great, has a great atmosphere. Christopher Lee as the Mummy is fantastic. In this one, I really like the scenes that were shot like on the moors and in like the little, when he's like going into the marsh and sinking down on the marsh. I always remember those scenes from being a kid. I thought they were really well done. They looked great. They were creepy. And and also the scene when the Mummy, when he smashes into the room with Peter Cushing, that was like really cool. That was like really exciting at the time when I watched that as a kid. Really well done stuff. So yeah, The Mummy, another classic Hammer film, one that I've always enjoyed. That's that one. Okay, at number 5 we have Rasputin, the Mad Monk, which I must confess, I've only just recently watched this film. So when I was a kid, I think kind of the idea of a Russian monk, it didn't appeal to me all that much. That's just cultural ignorance on my part, I must say. And so it's taken me a while to get around to seeing this, but having just watched it recently, I really enjoyed it. And like I said, this has already made my top 5 Hammer movies because I enjoyed it so much. And I think that is mainly down to Christopher Lee's performance as Rasputin. I mean, he's incredible in this role. Everything he does, he's amazing, but he has such a commanding presence in this film. It's a joy to watch, and I think you really, playing a character like Rasputin, you really have to bring that kind of intimidating sort of persona. But he's an absolute beast in this film, and he absolutely nails it. And he's kind of, like I say, he's intimidating, he's empowering, he's powerful, but he's funny at the same time. He's really funny, and in a strange way, he is quite endearing as well. You are kind of rooting for this crazy mad monk at the same time. It's a remarkable performance, and I absolutely loved it. Although it is based on kind of a Russian history, it's very much a British affair. It's all British actors and things like that, which didn't bother me, and I thought it worked because it kept some of that those Hammer sensibilities that I enjoy watching. So really, really awesome film. I'm so glad I finally got round to watching Rasputin. So that is already number 5 on my list. Okay, at number 4 we have Kiss the Vampire. Again, just a really, really well made film. And I think you can somewhat be put off because this is a vampire film without Christopher Lee. But trust me, give this movie a go. It's really, really good. It's like this couple, they're on like a honeymoon and they run into some trouble and they stay at this castle where this like aristocratic family are vampires, and they kind of charm them and seduce them. And I think the woman, she turns into a vampire, and her fiance, played by Edward D'Souza, he has to try and sort of stop it, and he gets help from this like Van Helsing type character. Really, really good stuff. And Edward D'Souza, he really should have made more Hammer films. He was great in this. The vampires are awesome. I love the charming family in it who are vampires. Really good stuff. I highly recommend Kiss the Vampire. It's not one that you hear of all that much, but it should be more acclaimed than what it is. And then next one, similar kind of thing with this one actually. This is at number 3. This is Brides of Dracula. Another absolutely fantastic vampire film from Hammer. Again, it doesn't have Christopher Lee, but don't let that one put you off. It's a really, really good film. This woman, she ends up staying at this castle, and there's a guy who's like locked away, and he sort of gives her a sob story. She feels sorry for him. She like unshackles him, lets him out, but he's an evil vampire, and she gets bit. And Peter Cushing, he has to sort of sort it all out. But again, really, really good film. Very well made Hammer film. It looks great. I love the locations. I love the performances, the costumes. Probably better than some of the actual Christopher Lee vampire films. I know that may be an unpopular opinion, but this and like Kiss of the Vampire, I just thought were such well made films. So that is number 3 on my list. Okay, at number 2 we have Horror of Dracula, or just Dracula, but the original Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing Dracula film. I'm sure I don't need to talk too much about this one. This is one of Hammer's most famous films, and it's not difficult to see why. Such a well put together film. Again, it has that really great mix of lush colours from Hammer Horror. Christopher Lee was just incredible in this, as was Peter Cushing, and we get that iconic confrontation at the end with Dracula and Van Helsing, and the ripping down of the curtains and Dracula like this and that. Oh, it's just so cool. And I know this one is a favourite of my dad's as well, so it's this one has a lot of sentimental value in the Horror Hands household. So yeah, couldn't not do a list without the original Dracula. It is one of my favourites. So yeah, that one is number 2. And then number 1 for me, definitely number 1, there's no doubt about it. Hammer's finest hour, in my opinion, is The Devil Rides Out, which is just a wonderful, wonderful Hammer horror film. So it sees Christopher Lee. He is a good guy for a change in this, and he is battling a satanic cult led by Charles Gray. And Christopher Lee is, again, he's an absolute boss in this. He's like an authority on cults and devilry and things like that. Charles Gray is this very charming, well-spoken, nice-mannered guy who's like got this sort of seductive power about him that gets people to join the cult. And Christopher Lee and a few people have to do battle against these dark powers. But it's just an absolutely wonderful film, just a great example of British horror filmmaking, full stop. I love the posh British accents, the performances are just perfect. I love the look of it, the locations. The special effects towards the end don't look great, but for me, I find them charming for what they are and just the way that they did things back then. And it's just an absolutely wonderful film. If you've not seen The Devil Rides Out, you should definitely check it out, whether you're a fan of Hammer or not. It's just a wonderful, charming, really well made horror film. So that is my top 10 favourite Hammer horror films, guys. Let me know what you think of that. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And what would your top 10 look like? I'd love to know. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.